So here I'm doing a transfer case output shaft seal, and I had to pull the exhaust down first. There's a 15mm bolt right there. Loosen that up, tap it a few times with a hammer, it'll come loose. Then there's those two hangers that got to be pushed off, but I do that last. This, I use a pry bar, I push off those two rubber hangers on each side. And then over here in the corner there's a 10mm bolt that goes up into this hanger. You can pull the whole thing down. Take the bolt out of each side and then unhook it, and then have somebody help you slide the exhaust right out. There it goes. It hooks into that little slot. The bolt goes through the hole right there. And then there's the one on the other side. This whole lower cover's got to come down. I've seen guys do it in one piece, but I did it in 3 pieces to make it easier. I did the sides, pulled each one down individually, then I pulled the center section last. Along the side there's a bunch of like clips, 8mm, 13mm, 8, 10mm, and then these are just these plastic deals. You can pop them off, or you can use a 13 and pull down on them. But anyhow, just you got to follow this whole undercarriage area. Then there's in the center section of the metal shielding underneath, there's 3 T45s with a bracket that has to come down too as well. I didn't show that in this video. But anyhow, this is a bearing kit. It's not a bearing inside there though. This is the whole yoke kit. Comes with the nut, flange, everything. There's the C-clip that goes on the back of the drive shaft. That's what the drive shaft actually snaps into at the rear end. There's no bolts on it. You basically just go to the rear end, push the old clip off, slide the new one on. There's your part number. And it goes right back behind that flange in there. And that pop the drive shaft off. I use a block of wood and a hammer, and I just pop it off of the spot where it clips on. They say there's supposed to be some big slide hammer deal from the factory, but I don't use that. This is a rubber seal. It's real nice. Pushes into the back. There's your part number for it. It pushes right into the transfer case output side, right in front of the yoke. And then here is your bolts for the actual center support bearing. You only use 2 of them, but 4 come in a kit. And then there's the big bolts to actually take and bolt the drive shaft to the flange going into the transmission. There's your part number for them. You're gonna have 1 left over. So then get the rear lower cover off. As you can see here, I'm using a block of wood and a hammer, and I'm tapping that flange forward. This is the yoke nut that is part of that big kit, the bearing kit. And then there's the washer that goes behind the nut. And then there's a little rubber insert that goes in the center of the yoke whenever you transfer everything back over. So basically I'm going down here right now, and I am going to use a 3-jaw puller. I actually end up spinning it so it goes around the ears to pull that yoke off. Now it's off, and I'm going to take a pick, and I'm actually going to grab the side of the seal and just fold it right out of there, because this doesn't have a lot of pressure. It's just a rubber seal, so you're not pounding it real hard to put it in. You just have to work it a little bit, and it slowly comes out. And then you can see here I eventually get to a point where it just pops right out of there, and it's just rubber coated. That's it, with ribs on the side. Then I clean everything up real quick with a rag. Just wipe it all down, real lightly coat the outside of that seal with some residual trans fluid that's in the back of that. And then this is just a basic seal installer that I found over on the shelf. No part number on it. That just fits perfectly. You could actually just use like a big socket and just press it by hand. But you'll see here I don't even need a hammer to knock this thing in. I just use the palm of my hand. It's just a snug fit, basically. And I just take the palm of my hand and just pop, pop, pop. Goes right in. And then right here it bottoms out. I asked the other guy there to hold it for me. Just a couple times with the palm of my hand, right in. Wipe everything down, clean it up, start to install your new yoke. Here you can see I'm just using some real light brake clean, and there's not a lot of pressure in a can. I grabbed it from one of the lube techs. It's just barely squirting out, but just cleaning off any of the residual trans fluid, shaking it to build a little bit more pressure in the can. It does work. And then just finishing spraying everything off underneath there, wiping it down. There's the new yoke installed. And the drive shaft actually put back up and bolted to it. cleaning off the rear now at the rear diff where like residual road grime and stuff has been building up, and then I'll take like a towel and wipe it back down.
Spray it, wipe it off, whatever you gotta do.
It's not critical because there's nothing leaking back here. I'm just trying to get as much off of the contact area where I'm working, just to make it as clean as possible.
Alright, see how low it is right now?
Is a vehicle that stays on the road all the time, all year. And all they do is quotes with this vehicle, so it's like thousands of miles every month gets put on this. So shockingly, 2020 Explorer is already out of warranty by miles because of how much this is used every single day.
And then you go ahead and take a flat pick screwdriver, a little small, fine, thin,
up. Now I'm pointing at that clip because I'm pointing to push that out of there with like a flat blade screwdriver. You get like 2 little small ones, and you can push it right out, pry it out of the groove, and then take that other one that I showed you earlier, snap it in there. And then this is where I actually have I slid the back on, I started the threads at the rear end, and then I put the front on. There's a center support bushing in the middle of that yoke. It goes over that little bit that comes out of the output shaft of the transfer case. And then as I pushed up in the center and slid on the front, it popped that past the ring in the back. Got everything bolted back up, everything's dry. At this point, I'm going to go back up to my transfer case, and I'm going to pull the top fill port, and I'm going to fill transfer case fluid, transmission fluid, all the way up to that level right there until I can see it even. At that point at the end, whenever everything's bolted back up and fluid is filled, it's just going in the reverse process to put all your shielding back on up underneath the vehicle, and then obviously go test drive the vehicle and check for leaks. I am on my lunch break right now, so I will test drive afterwards. But that's how you install the output shaft yoke seal on the transfer case on the 3.3 liter 2020 Explorers. It's kind of a pain in the butt with removing everything just for a seal, but it's not that hard of a job. It's pretty simple, actually. You just have to be patient, understand that there's a lot of bolts and nuts that got to come off underneath that lower shield. That's the most annoying part, and it's a very simple, easy job. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, I'd probably say it's about a 4. It's very, very easy. You just have to be patient and careful and make sure you don't rush things. Y'all be blessed. Thank you.